Genesis chapter 39 verse 1 to 2. If you've got your Bibles, Genesis 39 verses 1 to 2. Psalm 68 verse 4 to 6. Genesis 39 verses 1 to 2. Before we read that text this morning, my wife had a conversation with a woman in England. And then, I can't remember her name again now, but she asked the woman, she's a Nigerian woman, a Yoruba woman with her family in London, and Sister Anna said, why wouldn't would you ever come back to Nigeria to live in Nigeria? Would you? I mean, she used to live here before and then went to London and has domiciled in London for years with her family. They've had children. And so my wife said, Sister Shola, would you ever go back to Nigeria to live in Nigeria? And she gave my wife a response that inspired the sermon. She said, no, I am not. Never. She said, I'm never going to go back to Nigeria to live. My wife said, why not? Why wouldn't you go back to Nigeria to live? She said, Sister Anna, it is impossible for a Christian in Nigeria to advance in life, to prosper in life without compromising. She said, you are not going to ever, as a Christian, be successful in Nigeria without telling lies, without compromising, without putting your hands in some shady business. In fact, what she said, the Nigerian Christian, the authentic, I'm talking about the authentic Nigerian Christian. She said the authentic Nigerian Christian is really an underdog. So I checked out the meaning of the word underdog in the dictionary. And what I found surprised me. The Chambers Dictionary defines an underdog as someone in a competition or in a context who is considered most unlikely to win. Someone in a competition or a contest who is considered most unlikely to win. I don't know why my stuff is not on the board. That's the definition of an underdog. Someone who is considered as most unlikely to win. As far as Sister Shola is concerned, the Nigerian Christian can never be successful. The Nigerian Christian can never rise and become rich or prosperous. So the question we must ask in this sermon, we're going to ask and try and find the answer to, is the upliftment of a holy man possible in Nigeria? Can a righteous person in Nigeria rise to the top? Is it possible for an honest Christian in Nigeria to become economically prosperous? Can an underdog in Nigeria advance economically? Is it possible to be a real Christian in Nigeria and prosper? Is it possible to be a Christian and thrive in this corrupt system? Is it possible to be a holy man or a holy woman and yet rise to the top in an unholy environment? I wrote this sermon as a dedication to Sister Shola. The statement she made really shook my heart. So this morning, I want to preach a sermon I've entitled, The God of the Underdog. Turn to your neighbor and say, the God of the Underdog. Genesis chapter 39 verse 1 to 2. Now Joseph had been brought down to Egypt, and Potiphar, an officer of Pharaoh, the captain of the guards, an Egyptian, had brought him from the Ishmaelites, who had brought him down there. The Lord was with Joseph, and he became a successful man, and he was in the house of his Egyptian master. Psalms chapter 68 verse 4 to 6. Sing to God, sing praises to his name. Lift up a song to him who rides through the deserts. His name is the Lord, exalt before him, Father of the fatherless, and protector of widows is God in his holy habitation. God settles the solitary in a home. He leads out the prisoners to prosperity, but the rebellious dwell in a parched land. Let's pray this morning. Heavenly Father, you are the God of the underdog. I pray this morning that this sermon will touch us and will help us to see things that we have never seen before. In Jesus' mighty name, and everyone said, well, there's an argument this morning that I want to deal with. It's the same argument that Sister Shola raised. Are you going to come back to Nigeria to live? She said, no way. Never. You will never see me in that nation. My wife said, why? She said, well, it's impossible for a Christian in Nigeria to be successful. It's impossible. I'm not talking about a church goer. I'm not talking about folks who have one leg in church and one leg outside of church. I'm talking about a proper disciple of Jesus. Sister Shola, in her own theology, believes that it's impossible to be a follower of Jesus and be successful in Nigeria. She believes that it's impossible to be an ardent follower of Jesus, a proper, authentic Christian, and be successful in Nigeria. So that's the subject of this sermon. We are going to look at what I've called the fact. Well, I have to agree with Sister Shola to an extent. And let's look at the fact. The fact is that the Christian in Nigeria is really an underdog. You say, Pastor, what do you mean? Well, the Christian in Nigeria is really an underdog. He is going to have to find success as a holy man in an unholy system. In fact, the Christian in Nigeria is an underdog because the system is designed to keep him down. He's going to have to do business in an unethical system, even though he's a person of ethics. This Christian in Nigeria is an underdog. If she's a student, she's going to find a way to have A's in her class without sleeping with a lecturer. The rest of the people can bang one lecturer after another. But this Christian underdog student can't. She doesn't have that option. She's an underdog because there are options not available to the Christian. There are options not available to the Christian businessman. Everybody's doing bribery, but he can't bribe. So he's an underdog. Everybody's doing their magu ways of doing things, but he can't do that. Everybody's doing their forgery. He can't do that. He's an unholy man operating. He's a holy man operating in an unholy system. He's a man of ethics running business in a system that rewards people who don't have ethics. He's a righteous person doing business in a corrupt system. Of course, Sister Shola was right. The Christian in Nigeria is what? Is what? Turn to your neighbor and say, the Christian is an underdog. Of course, the Christian is an underdog. The options open for the unbeliever. Those options are not available for the Christian. You saw the sex for great scandal in Unilag and Uniben and all of that. I bet you that no proper Christian girl will think that the way I can get an A is to sleep with what? Sleep with what? So she has to find a way to have an A without doing what? Without doing what? She's an underdog. She's an underdog. This Christian woman in my 12 markets selling crayfish will not go and add some things to her crayfish to make it bigger because that option is not available to the Christian. She's going to have to find a way to make profit in a system that rewards people who make profit in an unrighteous way. So the deck is stacked against the Christian in our country, the way our country is designed. That's why Sister Shola said, I ain't going back to Nigeria because I can't be rich as a Christian in Nigeria. I can't be successful as a Christian in Nigeria. I can't advance in life as a Christian in Nigeria. In her mind, she says, the Christian in Nigeria is an underdog, and Chambers Dictionary defines the underdog as a man or a woman in a context who is most unlikely to win. That's what Sister Shola said. Now the problem is that that's a fallacy. That's not true. A lot of people have believed this fallacy that it's not possible for the Christian to advance in life in an immoral world. A lot of people are like Sister Shola. There are a lot of Sister Shola sitting down here and Mr. Shola sitting down here who have bought into the... Turn to your neighbor and say it's a lie. Oh, am I talking to the right church this morning? I've had a long journey on the road, preach on radio this morning, been stuck on traffic. I just want to get this sermon out of my bones. Let me tell you something. It's a lie. I know she has her fact. I know the fact says that the Christian is an underdog, the most unlikely to succeed, but that's not the truth. Facts are not always the truth. Facts is what people see. The truth is when God gets involved. So I want to let you know now that she's not the only one that believes it. There are a lot of people who are bought into that fallacy. In fact, a lot of churches bought into that fallacy. I remember when I was in university. I remember when I was in secondary school. The reason why we didn't follow Jesus when we were supposed to follow Jesus was our parents have bought into this fallacy. That's impossible for a Christian person in Nigeria to be successful, to articulate success, because he's an underdog. So you saw them all the time. They came to church, they looked like they were going to a funeral. And I remember I would look at them and think, this one is Christianity I'm not doing. Because there are a lot of Sister Shola sitting here who have believed the lie that the Christian is an underdog. If he's a politician, he must enter some secret court for protection. If he's a young boy in church, he must do yahoo to have money. Yes. That's a fallacy. The fallacy is it's impossible to be successful in a country like ours without putting your hands in something dirty, without entering one forest and sacrificing to one deity, without doing something dodgy. Sister Shola believes it. Many people believe it. But we must ask God a question this morning. The forthright question, we must ask God a question this morning. Subject this morning. Can a Christian make a headway in Nigeria? That's the question. Is it possible for a Christian underdog in Nigeria to advance in this corrupt system? That's a question we must ask this morning. That's the interrogation. We must interrogate this subject this morning. Is it possible that I can be a Christian in Nigeria and advance in my business, and advance in my ministry, and advance in the community? Or am I helpless? Or but when I gave my life to Jesus, have I become a pawn in the economic chessboard of Nigeria? Have I become a pawn in the economic chessboard of Nigeria? Those are the questions we must ask this morning. Is it attainable? Is success attainable as a Christian in this corrupt system? And let me tell you something. I am not diminishing the corruption in this country. Our country is probably one of the most corrupt. I've lived in many nations, but I can tell you, let me tell you something. I remember pastoring a church one day. That was a defining moment for me. And this young boy, JS3, he comes to me, said, Pastor, I need 2,000 naira. Said, 2,000 naira for what? What is your problem? She said, I need to sort the lecturer. He's about to do JS3 exam. He needs 2,000 naira, not to take extra classes, not to do extra tuition. No, I need 2,000 naira because every morning in my class we're raising this money so we could bribe the lecturer at JS3. At JS3, then I discovered that at SS3 you could pay a huge amount of money so they can send you to a center that's known as sorting center. When you go to that center, you don't write. People write for you. So I'm not diminishing the level of corruption in this country. I'm just asking God a question. Is it possible that holy men can dwell in this corrupt system and still rise to the top? Or is it not? Is it possible that godly people can articulate economic success, community success, social success in this most corrupt system? Or is it not? Is it impossible? Is God and his power sovereign over the system? Or is God a slave to the system? Let me ask God a question again. Do I need to run to Canada before I can be blessed? I want to know this kind of God I serve that can only bless people in Canada. Do I need to run to London before I can be blessed? I really want to know this kind of God that I need to run to London before he can bless me. I want to really ask whether that God is worth serving. A God whose power is limited by geography. A God whose power is limited by location. I want to ask God a question. Has Nigeria has defiled all of us? Has Nigeria defiled you too? I want to ask that question. It is to those questions that I have written this sermon. Does God only act in a system that is righteous? Is God sovereign over the system, or is God a slave to the system? Do I need to get a visa to Canada to be blessed? Must I travel to Germany to be successful? You know what? It be like say Nigeria don't tire God. It looks like his power. You know, God is omnipotent everywhere else. Right? Oh, am I talking to the right people? Are we all together in there? Am I speaking? Am I connecting to something in you? It looks like Nigeria has defied. Maybe when God arrives in Germany, he is God. Then he arrives in Canada, he is God. Then he arrives in Los Angeles, America, he is God. But the moment Elohim himself comes to Lagos, his power disappears. He's begging Buhari. He's begging Ambode. He's powerless. Let me be honest with you. Should I serve that kind of God? Is that kind of God worth serving? That's a forthright question. That's a question I must ask. A God limited by location. Is that God worth serving? A God limited by geography. Is that God worth serving? I read to this morning, the earth and the fullness thereof. The earth is the Lord and the fullness thereof. Is that true? Is that true? Is that true? Sister Shola, is that true? Is that true? Those are the questions I must ask this morning. If God is subject to the system, if God is a slave to this corrupt system, what does that mean? What kind of God is that? The way it's going, every Christian in this country will run away. Is that, are we saying that God can bless us here? Turn to your neighbor and say, can God bless us here? Oh, please turn to your other neighbor and say, please, can question I must ask. Do I need to go to Accra, Ghana to be blessed? To prosper? The way it's going now, it looks like Yaoundé. I need to go to Yaoundé. Where is that one? Cameroon. To prosper. Is this something? So God has become a slave to this system. So the Christian is really an underdog. Can God do something for the underdog? Is there something that God can do for the underdog? Can I drive a Mercedes-Benz in this country without putting my hands in something dirty? Can I live in my own house, not pay rent to any landlord, and still be able to go home at night and sleep, knowing that I have not killed anyone? Can I find young people in this church rising up, doing their business without writing letter, without killing their girlfriends, without sacrificing their mother? Right? It's looking like the only one who gives people prosperity in Nigeria is a devil. It looks like God cannot prosper his people. And the Bible tells me that the earth is the Lord's and the fullness thereof. I want to ask God a question this morning. Is that statement true or is it false? Those are the forthright questions that inspired this sermon. I had a testimony the other day. God is moving in this church. I'm not going to call your name. One guy met me after an outreach. He said, Pastor, I used to be a Yahoo boy. He would testify one day. He said, I used to be a Yahoo boy. He said, 24/7, I'm online. 24/7, I'm online. He said, I don't depend on anybody else. I'm doing Yahoo. I didn't talk to him. He just said, Pastor, I came to your church, listened to you preach. I want to give up that business. He's here. He's sitting down here. How has he gotten to a point where even people who go to church think, I can't make it in this country as a Christian? That's where we are. The question we must ask God today is, God, is there something for the underdog? Because indeed, the Christian is an underdog. The Christian is an underdog. The Christian single. The Christian single thinks the only way I can get married is to get pregnant for someone. Right? I like that brother, I like that man, but I want to hook him by doing what? By doing what? So if there's something for the underdog Christian single, is there something? Is there something? Is there something for the underdog? The underdog pastor. I said, God, what about the underdog pastor who wants to pastor a church, right? You want to do it right? Everybody's got my phone number. Pastors don't do that. Everybody's got, I'm there. I'm every man. I said, God, can a pastor who wants to do it right grow a successful church? Or must we all open the altar and bury goat inside it? Must we all bury Nama under the altar so people can come? Must we all engage people in fleecing them? So money on this, so money on that, offering for that, offering for this. Must we all do? Is it possible that an underdog pastor can grow a solid mega church in a righteous way? Can we do that, God? I'm asking God. In fact, this sermon is no longer dedicated to Sister Shola. This is a sermon that God himself has to listen to. He needs to hear this sermon himself. So let's move. I've made some accusations against God this morning. And God now wants to defend himself. Let's move from the forthright question to a fellow in the Bible. God, when God wants to defend himself, he doesn't defend himself with theory. He defends himself with what he has done before. Because what God has done before, he can do again. Let's look at a man in the Bible, a fellow in the Bible. They're all F's. A fellow in the Bible, his name is Joseph. Joseph was indeed an underdog. Do you agree with me? Joseph entered the Egyptian economic system from the lowest possible point. Am I right? Yes, Joseph entered the Egyptian. This is not the ones who are going to Emmanuel University. Joshua didn't arrive in Egypt, admitted to Emmanuel University. This is not Babcock Uni. This is not, what's the other one? Covenant Uni. Joseph turned up. This is not, I showed up in Egypt in University of Cairo. No. Joseph arrived in Egypt from the lowest possible entry point. Turn to your neighbor and say the lowest possible entry point. He turned up in Egypt as a what? As a what? As a slave. So if this one, there are underdogs and there are chief underdogs. If they had a meeting, an association of underdogs, they will elect this guy as chairman, Joseph. He'll be chairman of the Underdog Association of Egypt, headquartered in Cairo. That's Joseph. He turns up as a slave. How many of you here, you've watched Kinta Kunte or Kunta Kunte? Anybody here? You see, go watch that movie. We talk slave. Slave not be house girl. Oh. When we talk slave, people to hear house. It's not house help. House help of these days are not slaves. Oh. They're not slaves. We have house help. We drink cornflakes. We give her cornflakes. Tomorrow she says she's a slave. You're a slave? We eat bonvita. She eat bonvita. We eat bread. She eat bread. We drink Milo. She ate Milo. And then she'll go to the video and say, you're not a slave. Oh. You don't know what slavery means. Go to that Bible and read. Joseph entered Egypt from the lowest possible point. Joseph was an underdog. He was an underdog. He was an underdog from the very lowest point. Joseph was an underdog. He was a moral man in an immoral system. He's an underdog. Yeah? Am I right? A moral man in an immoral system. And remember, when Potiphar's wife began to lust after Joseph, apparently Joseph was this handsome young man. Potiphar's wife began to lust after Joseph. That could have been his exit from slavery. But you know, for proper Christians, those options are not your options. That's why you're an underdog, because the unbelievers will use that option. But if you are an authentic, turn to your neighbor and say, are you an authentic Christian? You know, when you come to the Cornerstone Church, I'll preach the truth. That's why we're still this size. I'll preach the truth. Are you an authentic Christian? Because those options are only available to churchgoers and unbelievers. But an authentic Christian, those options are not available to you, and that makes you what? That makes you what? That makes you what? An underdog. An underdog. The one most unlikely to do what? To do what? To win. To win. So we have established that Joseph was an underdog, entered from the lowest possible point, a moral man in an immoral world, an ethical man. Looked at what Sister Shola said. Joseph was not expected to become anything in his life. What do you expect from a man who enters the race of life as a slave? You know, back in the Igbo land, right? You know, I study cultures more than you know. Back in Igbo land, there used to be a caste system. A caste system, a bunch of people, this community will call them an Osu. Anybody heard that before? They call them an Osu, and the problem with this system is that it's not just that they called your father an Osu. When the father gives birth to a child, the child automatically becomes an Osu again, and the child enters the community from the it doesn't matter what they are, how smart they are, they're entering the community from the very lowest possible economic system, from the lowest possible point. Joseph was what? Was what? An under. Look at the striking conclusion of our text. Let's go back to our text again. Genesis chapter 39, verse 1 to 2. I hope Sister Shola is listening to this sermon. I hope the Sholas of our church who think that because I'm a Christian underdog, I can't advance in life, I can't be successful, I can't own a house, I can't run a business and build a church in the right way. Sister Shola, I bet you're watching. Watch this sermon from England. Look at Genesis chapter 39, verse 1 to 2. Now Joseph had been brought down to Egypt, and Potiphar, an officer of Pharaoh, the captain of the guard, an Egyptian, had bought him. They are buying a man. Buying a man. They bought him from the Ishmaelites who had brought him down there. Look at the next line. Let's read the next line together from here. Let's read together. 1, 2, ready, go. Hold it there. We've established that Joseph is what? Now we are established that it's very possible for an underdog to do what? Really? Sister Shola, I hope you can hear me. Shola in England, I hope you can hear me. Look at this. Joseph, this is an underdog. If Joseph was an Igbo man, he would be an Osu. Are you listening to me here? Yes, if Joseph was here, he would be, this is not Omolile. This is not Alabaru. What do you guys call it? Alaba. No, Abaro, but the other ones who carry Alabaro. Alabaro. This is not this. Alabaro is 5-star. Alabaro is 5-star. The underdog became what? So then there's a God of the underdog. There's a God of the underdog. There's a God of the underdog. When the God of the underdog shows up, even the underdog can become successful. Let me tell you something. I began to research the word successful. That word, that particular word successful, that's a Hebrew word. That word successful. I began to research it. It's a word, Salah. You know, no wonder Mohammed Salah is scoring goals like water. That word, successful, is the same word, Salah. this guy that I want them to break his leg. So he stopped scoring. Look at that word successful is the word salah. It means to advance. It means to make progress. It means to succeed. It means to be profitable. So the underdog, no matter the system, the underdog can advance. Turn to your neighbor and say, the underdog can advance. The underdog can make progress. The underdog can succeed. The underdog can be profitable. The question we must ask is, how is this possible? Go back to that text. How is it possible? The text supplies an answer. Go back to the text, please. Go back to the text. Okay. And he became a successful man in the hands of his Egyptian master. Why was he successful? So the success of the underdog is possible. And what makes it possible is the sovereignty of God. Turn to your neighbor and say, the sovereignty of God. Turn to your neighbor and say, the underdog has a God. And if that dog gets involved, the underdog can be successful. So let's break that down. Let's break that down. The sovereignty of of God is what makes it possible for the underdog to be successful. He said, Pastor, can you explain this? Let me give you a few moments in Joseph's life that tells you, one of your, the wife of your vice president said, there is God, oh. Turn to your neighbor and say, there is God, oh. Listen, he's an underdog, even in his father's family. In his father's family, Joseph was an underdog. The Bible says Joseph had a dream and his brother did what? The brother did what? The brother hit, and we don't have Bible. What are the Bible scholars now? What is it? Niger bet. I'll leave that one for now. I'll preach a sermon on that one. Joseph was successful, right? Joseph had a dream, and what happened? His brothers did what? Hated. The brother hated him for it. They didn't stop by hating him. They carried him and put him inside a pit. Listen. I want to explain to you what the sovereignty of God means. Because it's the sovereignty of God that delivers success to the underdog. They put him in a pit. I want you to imagine being put in an Arabian pit, no water. Put him in a pit. There could be cobra in that pit. There could be scorpions in that pit. Right? That he was not going to survive in that pit for more than 2-3 days. But then the God of the underdog. Turn to your neighbor and say, the God of the underdog. At the very moment that this guy needed help, a bunch of Ishmaelite slave traders began to pass that place. One of the brothers said, it will not profit us anything now to leave this guy in the pit and kill him. He will die there. We make money from him. Right? That guy, make we sell him. Right? The guy talking thought he was talking. But he was being told what to say, because the God of the underdog had gotten involved. You see, when the God of the underdog gets involved, people will begin to do something for you, and they think they are working against you, but they're working for you. They say, you know what, it's good. This idea is a good idea. Bring him out. They brought him out and sold him to the Ishmaelite. Let me tell you, it's better to be a slave than to die in a pit. I bet you when Joseph was in that point, he's thinking, my life don't finish. And if he could see, some of you are in a situation, yeah? That situation you think is bad. God has put you in that situation because he's marking time for you. What Satan planned for you was worse than that. What Satan planned was worse than that. So they carried him and put him into slavery in Egypt. In Egypt. You know the story. He ends up in prison. Prison. He's in prison. Look at the God of the underdog. God shows up one day. He thinks it's time to get Joseph out of prison. How am I going to get Joseph out of prison? You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to bring famine to the world. and I'm going to create a problem in this world. And I'm going to give Joseph the what? The solution to that problem. You see, when the God of the underdog begins to get involved in your life, God will go and create problems and give you the solution. He will go and create problems for people and give you the solution. So whether the system is corrupt or not, whether the system is decked against you or not, if you have the solution, you have the solution. If you have the solution, they will make room for you in a corrupt system. Are you listening to what I'm saying? If you have the market, if you have the product, whether the system is corrupt or not, they will find you out. That's what God does. That's what God does. God created a problem. Famine in the life. It was the fourth famine they've ever seen. And God carried the solution to the problem and gave it to Joseph. Let me tell you. I don't need Oga at the top. No. All I need is God the Father. God the Father. If I have God the Father, I don't need Oga at the top. Because when God the Father gets involved, he will start creating problems for people and giving me the solutions. That's how it works. That's how it works. Pharaoh is now having a dream. The dream scared Pharaoh. And he had the dream twice. When in dream interpretation, if you sleep, have a dream, and then you wake up and they go back to sleep and have the same dream, it means that dream is assured to happen. That dream is assured to happen. So what do we say? Joseph now has a solution to the dream, has a solution to the problem. And by the time the matter is over, the underdog who entered Egypt as a slave is now the prime minister of Egypt. Somebody call Sister Shola and tell her that once the God of the underdog gets involved, the underdog can become prime minister. The underdog can become pastor. The underdog can become governor. The underdog can become CEO. Let me tell you something. There is no limitation to the underdog when the God of the underdog gets involved. And the one person who understood this more than you and I is the psalmist. The psalmist, Psalm 68 verse 4 to 6. Put it on the board. Put Psalm 68 verse 4 to 6. I'm wrapping up in a minute. Psalm 68 verse 4 to 6. I want us to read that together, and then we'll look at the functional requirement. Something you need to do. 1, 2, ready, go. Let's read that together. The psalmist understands it. Read that together. 1, 2, ready, go. Sing to God. Sing praises to his name. Lift up a song to him who rides through the deserts. His name is the Lord. Exalt him before him. Father of the fatherless and protector of widows is God in his holy habitation. God settles the solitary in a home. He leads out the prisoners to prosperity, but the rebellious dwell. Who is the fatherless? The underdog. Who is the widow? But they end up in prosperity. Because God indeed is the God of the underdog. Let's give him praise. Give him praise. Now, I want to wrap this sermon up. I have something to say. The question we must ask before I exit this stage is, I know God is the God of the underdog, but should the underdog bring something to the table? You know, I can't leave sermon without giving you something to do. Some people are, yeah. God no go do everything, no. Turn to your neighbor and say you have a part to play too. So you are an underdog, but can the underdog bring something to the table? What are the things expected from the underdog? I know God is the God of the underdog, but should the underdog bring something to the table? The first thing Joseph brought to the table was his craft. Craft. You see, woe betide the underdog when you get craft. That's why when you come to this church, I'm trying to do what? I'm trying to get you to do what? Have a what? Have a skill. Craft a skill. I know God is the God of the underdog. I know he prepares a table before you in the presence of your enemy. But when you show up at that table, come with your craft. What was Joseph's craft? Dream interpretation. Listen, maybe I can tell you, the one way you know and well. The one way you know. Don't your neighbor say the one way you know and well. Joseph turned up at the table with his craft. Don't tell me, Pastor, I say, what's your craft? Say, Pastor, my craft now, Yahoo. I know how to write letter. That one not be craft though. In fact, use that craft. When you finish, talk to Borakano. He could use some of those your Yahoo skills. We could use it. We could use it for legitimate ways. Yeah. It's a hard thing for an underdog to turn up at the table when the God of the underdog appears and you come to that table empty-handed. Turn to your neighbor and say, come with your craft. They're all going to be seized. The second thing the underdog must show up at the table is that he must come with character. In fact, let me tell you, they don't focus for the underdog when they get character. The underdog when they get character, not even God can help him. The underdog that doesn't have character, they give you something, you steal it. They give you something, you don't deliver it. You come late. God is character. Character. Because even when the God of the underdog shows up and gives the underdog the best job in the world, his lack of character will remove him from that job. And then he'll come to church and say it's witchcraft. It's the uncle in the village. It's that man no greed die. He's 99 years old. It's our destiny he's using. He's using our destiny to live. It's not true. You are where you are because of your lack of character. You are an underdog, yes, well, please come to the table with character. Turn to your neighbor and say, do you have character? The top thing the underdog must turn up with, another C, is his conduct. Hard work. Genesis chapter 23 verse 39 verse 23. The keeper of the prison paid no attention to anything that was in Joseph's charge, because the Lord was with him, and whatever he did, the Lord made it. This guy was a hard worker. Christians are one of the most lazy people in the world. Give a Christian a job, just lazy. Just add e's, keep adding e to the, just be going. Lazy. Let's give God praise this morning. Give him praise. I want every head bowed or eyes closed. Head bowed or eyes closed. The God of the underdog. Every head bowed or eyes closed this morning. Please, I don't want anybody moving around. Head bowed, eyes closed. Nobody looking around. You're here this morning. 1997. I heard a sermon. I was a cultist. I was a bad boy. I was a fornicator. I was sleeping around. I was doing drugs. I was smoking weed. I was doing all kinds of things. If I died, I would have gone to hell like my friends who are in hell today. If I had died at that moment without Jesus, I would have gone to hell straight. And Satan was waiting for me. He knew I was coming. But then I walked into this service, and a man preached a sermon, and I gave my life to Jesus. I turned my life over to Jesus. I was going to England to go and do drugs. I was going to England to go and do all kinds of business. But that day, my direction changed.